surrounds the tabernacle. And so the fence, and so I had to explain in my other videos what I think the fence were, because they were made of brass, and they were, and the dimensions around it, they were 10 pillars altogether, 60, which in the, 60 is, 6 is man, and if you go above, add 10 to man, you get the angels, which were created above man. So man was inferior, they were superior. So we see that God's house was complete. It was with and I read, just an overview. I read how he surrounds himself with angels, and with ministers of Melachim that are flamings of fires, and he rides upon their chariots, and he also rides on the wind of the clouds, something like that. It's in Psalms. So anyways, we could see that God surrounds himself with his Ben Elohim. His house was complete. His house was complete. And there would be no need for gates. If everything was a cod and working unity, in unity, and everything was perfectly aligned, there is no reason for there be any kind of opening. God made his creation, and he made everything inside his creation unified, attached to him, and he was the center object of his creation, and they secured and centered around him. Let me see, I think it's everything is surrounded. It says, who laid the beams in Psalms 104:3, who lays the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariots. And I spoke last time that the panels of the Moses' tabernacle were made of fine linen, which indicates purity and a heavenly realm. And every post was made of brass, and there were 20 posts on each side, on this rectangular side, but on the back side, it was 10 pillars, and on the front side, which was facing eastward, so because they could be looking at the things with their backs towards the sun, because the Bible says that he did not want them to worship the hosts of heaven, and their anonymies, and they're because they're peculiar, and they're enticing, and they will draw men. So he said not to worship them. So he created where he would be facing eastward. He would face eastward, and their backs would be against the host of heaven, and they would be directly centered and in perfect alignment with the tabernacle when they would enter in. That they would not be looking at the world, they would not be looking at anything but him. He was their main focus. So anyways, and so every panel was made of fine linen, which represents these clouds of chariots, because you see the fiery chariots, his ministers are chariot, and he walks on the wings of the wind. So everything was definitely working in unison, akkad. And if you look at the word akkad, let me look. It's unified. It's unified. And I've talked about this. It's not necessarily that it's one. I'm the Lord thy God, and I am one. It's not singular, but it's a divine unity. Akkad in the Hebrew word is for one, or first, or signal, appearing nearly 1,000 times in the Hebrew Bible to denote the oneness, or uniqueness, or unity, while often used for simple counting. It frequently signifies the compound unity, a single entity composed of multiple parts, such as one or singular or single. So so akkad, or divine unity, Shema, in Deuteronomy 6:4, hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God, the Lord thy God is one, or echad. It emphasizes the unique in indivisible oneness of God. Unity, while it can mean absolutely oneness, echad frequently used for composite unity, because they've got I think Yodin means one too, in Hebrew, Yodin, and that means the number one. Let me double check. Yodin, one in Hebrew. Yeah, Yodin is a Hebrew masculine name for primary means he will judge, or God will judge, or let's see, that's the justice. Let's see. I'm sorry, it's Yaqid. I'm sorry, it's Yaqid. I looked at it. Solitary, only in one soul, Yaqid. So there's two uh, definitions in Hebrew, akkad, which is a plurality. It's a plurality. So this unity that he had with the sons ben Elohim, the Bible says that the cherub that covereth was in the midst of the congregation, was a complete congregation, and he was the select cherub to minister to the other angels, and he was the high ranking son ben Elohim that had the affection towards God, and God, and it said he walked in the midst, he in the midst of the stoning, the stone in Ezekiel, the fiery stones, which I show that the mountains of God, or the mountains of brass, and he stood in the midst of the of this great congregation of a angelic host. And then I explained that a third of the angelic hosts fail. They fail, and so God's house was breached. God's house was no longer in harmony. It was not no longer a cod. There was an infraction. There was a separation. There was a destruction. His house was in shambles, in shambles, and so now he had to repair this place of destruction that happened, because God is in his holiness and in his perfection. There cannot be this infraction in the holes. There cannot be a division. There cannot be chaos and it's outside of it's not it's outside of him and his holiness. He's perfect.